of females that was scared. They'll give them powder, huh? They give them powder to get the other scaredness out of them, huh?
Back then they had a lot of pills. They call them red devils and jackets and yellow jackets and and you know that type of thing. And you know Valium was a big thing.
So we used to call them, like back in the 90s, early 2000s, we called them bars.
Okay, the bars, Xanax?
Yeah, Xanax, all them, the ladders, all that.
Yeah, they had Dilaudid, they had all kinds of prescription drugs back then. You know, that was designed to make you relax. I mean, you think about it. You know, are you really in your right mind?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're out there taking a chance of being murdered at any point.
Right.
You know, are you really in your right mind?
No, you're not in your right
mind. No. You're going to have something.
Yeah.
Okay, to keep these thoughts, okay, right. You know, from driving you nuts. Because it's like, am I really out here jumping in the car with who knows who?
Right. Crazy, yeah.
You know, and at that time they had the Hillside Strangler.
Yeah.
He was on the scene. He was out of California.
Right.
Okay, he had made his way up here and he was strangling girls.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Oh yeah.
You a WWE star strangling and killing them.
Oh yeah, the Hillside Strangler came first.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you had Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer.
Yeah.
Okay, you know he came on the scene. Mm-hmm. You know. And I'll never forget the day. It was like early on because, I mean, I was one of the fortunate ones to get away.
Right.
You know, because...
You got the hell out there, cuz.
Yeah, he killed like 40 women after that.
Yeah.
You know, but he moved to Pacific Highway.
Yeah. That's
which
right
was,
out the way.
Which was like the other end of Aurora.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, they... You know, combined, they turn into the highway.
Right.
You know, and I'll never forget the day I got in his car and couldn't get out. Get out, and I was like, oh my goodness! And all I could think of, I didn't know who he was, but I knew I had to get out of there.
Right.
You know, and I remember, you know, hearing a voice, and it said, do what you know how to do.
Right.
And right then, I just had like supernatural strength.
Right.
Okay? And...
Fantastic Four power.
Yeah. And I just hit him right on the side of his head as hard as I could.
Right.
And he slid down in the seat. And somehow he ended up like down under the floor of the steering wheel.
Oh.
He had one of those, it's kind of like the Tacoma little truck.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
But it was a long time ago, so it must have been a Ford.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was the little one.
Ford Ranger.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. And I was able to roll the window down on his side and climb out to safety.
Right.
But, you know, I told the cops my story, you know, and that opened up a case, but it was more than 20 years after that they actually caught him, you know, and he killed almost 50 women from the time I escaped him until the time that he was caught, you know. But if I hadn't fought that night, I wouldn't be here today talking to you today.
Right.
You know. And...
You sound like a crazy man.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, them buried all over the shallow grass.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
You know, Washington State is so much evergreen trees that you could just throw somebody down there.
Yeah.
And nobody will never find them.
Yeah, he was in the seriously rooted, I mean, not rooted, heavy wooded part of the forest.
Right,
where the river went through.
Yeah.
And so, they had to make a deal with him to find bodies. You know, I guess that's their excuse for not giving him the death penalty.
Right.
You know, as much as he deserved it.
Yeah.
You know, he was able to escape the death penalty because he showed them where a lot of bodies was you know, the area that they.
I still would get him the death penalty.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Try to tell him
You know.
about ground beef. How
Yeah.
he did them women.
He killed a lot of women.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were, you know, constant times that it seemed like at least once a week somebody was trying to kill me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember
On
one
the track? So you was on the street with the pimps.
Yeah.
Every week somebody was trying to kill you.
It seemed like every week.
Oh man.
You know, I remember when I had to grab a blade with my bare hand.
Okay.
You know, and both of these two fingers, right? Both of these fingers
Right.
they were just hanging off.
Oh man.
Yeah, almost cut them all the way off.
Yeah.
And I still have the scars where they had sewed them back up, you know, and I can't completely, you know, I can't like,
Completely close it.
make a
With
full fist like on this one,
Right.
because of the cut tendons,
Yeah.
you know, and that time I was parked in a parking lot.
Okay.
You know, and I knew I was in trouble because the guy backed up so close to the next car that I couldn't open my door and get out,
Right.
you know. And I just constantly feared for my life, you know, time and time again, you know. One time I fought with a guy, seemed like forever.
Never in the story.
But I ended up fighting with him so long and so hard that I had nothing left on except for my underwear.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I ran out into the middle of the street because I was able to get away from him.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to the hospital, you couldn't see my eyes from my nose, from my mouth. It was so swollen that it was just like one big blob, you know,
Right.
because had been beat and hit so many times in my face
Oh,
that it
man.
was so swollen that it was just like one whole piece.
You couldn't even open your eyes.
No, you couldn't. They were just like one piece. You know, you couldn't tell one feature from the other.
Right.
It took, oh my goodness, at least 2 weeks for even the smallest amount of swelling to go down. And once again, the cops, they didn't care.
Right.
They didn't care. They didn't care. You know, but that's the life. You know, people don't talk about it, you know, in depth, but it's a hard life, you know, and it's a life that I wouldn't wish on anybody, but also a lot of times they're trapped by drugs,
Yeah.
you know. Drugs will make you do some things you wouldn't normally do.
Like what I noticed about a lot of times in the South, especially when I was in Texas, a lot of females, they be on meth.
Mm-hmm.
They be on meth in the hotels just twerking, selling that ass, don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, just look like a war